Day 14. Welcome back to those returning, and a warm welcome to any new viewers and hopefully subscribers by the end of the session. My name is Tanya. I live on the east coast of Scotland, and this is my diary vlog capturing my self-development progress while I'm launching a YouTube channel to support my online coaching and therapy business. I've got links in the description below if you want to check my website out or the Facebook group that I've created, in addition to this tribe community that I'm trying to create on YouTube. So basically today, where I want to sort of there was a topic that I was going to cover off today, but I'm going to use self-reflection from yesterday because that probably is more value add for my progress documentation. So yesterday I wanted to have some keto coffee. Now, it's been a while since I've had keto coffee, and I know I've listened to a lot of podcasts about the impacts that caffeine have, but because I use bulletproof coffee, I don't feel that I have the kind of big caffeine crashes as a result, because it removes the mold and a lot of the other kind of chemicals. So I've usually been fine with it, but because I've not had it for a few, probably a couple of weeks, I was more self-aware yesterday having drank it. My intermittent fasting, which I'll cover off in another vlog, I was able to go a bit longer in that, which has been great for my digestion and helping with my energy levels. So those are positive things. However, I also started feeling this sense of anxiety and agitation, which probably is a little bit akin to kind of nervousness, kind of feeling butterflies in your stomach. But I was aware it wasn't in connection to doing this vlog or any of the activities that I was working on yesterday. So I started paying a wee bit more attention. Is it the caffeine? And is that having an impact? So one thing that I do in order, because my kind of sleep last night was a wee bit more not erratic, more restless than what it has been for a number of days. So what I thought I would do this morning as part of my self-reflection morning routine was to use my body wisdom. And this is where I ask my body a question, and then my body will give me the answer yes or no to that question. So the question needs to be specific, so then it can have a yes or a no. It can't be a vague kind of question. It needs to be a closed ended question. So what I then do is I use kinesiology, which, if you're not familiar with it, it is the science of body movement. It comes from an ancient Greek word, kinesis, which is movement, and it's about kind of sort of the body movement. So you can use kinesiology to be able to muscle test whether certain foods or certain thoughts, beliefs, behaviors are of benefit or not to you. So it's a very useful kind of technique. So the first thing that you do is you need to get your baseline. You need to know what a yes and no is, and for each person that could be different. For me personally, the yes is I move forward, and the no is a move backwards. And this is where your feet are your feet are hip width apart. So you're balanced. So basically you're not going to sort of like stumble and fall. So you're solid on your feet on the ground, and then you ask the question. And what I do for any client when I sort of use this tool with them is I ask them to basically say, like, out loud, is my name Tanya? And then that will give them a yes or a no. Unless their name is actually Tanya, the answer should be no, so then it should give them the baseline of what the no is. Then we do a double check, and we then ask what their name is. is their name Brian? And then this is where Brian would push forward with the yes, if yes is a forward motion for him, and if no is the backward motion for him not being Tanya, because your brain knows what is the true kind of answer to that question. So once you know what your baseline is, a forward if it's a yes and a back a no, then you can use this tool to ask it any questions. So this morning what I did is I asked my body the question, is keto coffee the right thing for me? And the answer was no. So I went distinctly back. So as a result, I'm going to take a break from keto coffee for the next few weeks and see how my kind of energy and my focus levels are. Now, I have been watching and listening to the podcast of Steven Bartlett for a number of years, The Diary of a CEO, and he is been promoting his new product, Perfect 10, that he's had on Dragon's Den. So I've ordered some of some of that product. So I'm going to try that over the next couple of weeks to see if that gives me the kind of matcha focus and energy that I need or I want to have during the day, to see if how that impacts my energy levels, how my body reacts to it, and if it is the right thing for me. And if it is, then I'll let you know in a few weeks' time when I'm doing a kind of a vlog how I got on with that. But the kinesiology yes or no is a tool that you can actually use for anything. So if you've got food intolerances, or if you think you might have food intolerances, you can actually hold the food like up in your chest or wherever, just hold it and basically ask the question, is this food good for my body? And the answer would be yes or no. Or you can even just sort of like say, is cheese good for my body? Now, because there's different types of cheeses, you might not get a yes. It might be a wee bit of a kind of unsteady, unless you've definitely got an intolerance to all types of cheeses, in which case then it will be a distinct no answer for you. But if there are certain types of cheeses that your body would be fine with, then the answer might not be a definitive yes or a definitive no, in which case then by holding the actual type of cheese and asking the question, is this cheese okay for my body, then it should give you that answer of yes or no. So if you've never tried this technique and you want to give it a wee try, let me know in the comments how you got on and what your kind of question was and what their kind of response, and if it actually was of any benefit. For those of you that have used it in the past, please sort of let the rest of the tribe know how useful this tool has been in your life, so at least then we can sort of create that kind of sense of community and sort of sharing. So the where we had left my kind of life story was I had found my new home in the kind of work environment by working with Standard Life, and I stayed there for a 10-year period. But in that 10-year period, even though I had that sense of belonging and it was the right place for me, it wasn't a straight kind of line or a happy kind of incline that everything was great. I was on a kind of growth learning experience, and I got on great with everyone that I worked with, and that my life was in a really happy, great place, because that isn't the way life goes. So for me, what I actually found is that I actually did go through a period where work was absolutely great, but my personal self-esteem was extremely low. And where I had been confident in my abilities as an accountant and in the kind of roles that I had, the role that I had come in to do, and I was enjoying that role, there were a number of restructures that happened within the organisation over a kind of 18-month period from when I actually started working there. And that created a bit of unsettlement in me, which I didn't realise until I've been doing the kind of deep self-reflecting and looking knowing in hindsight why I behaved and why I thought the way that I did. But my self-esteem did take a knock. My role was up for potential voluntary redundancy, and if there wasn't sufficient people to volunteer, then there would be compulsory redundancies at the end of it. And because I was fairly new within the kind of department, I had this kind of sense of I didn't have children, I didn't have responsibilities and commitments, so therefore I should put myself forward and I should volunteer to take redundancy to safeguard other people in the department where they did have families, they did have large mortgages, and this was their life. They didn't want to leave the company because they thoroughly enjoyed working there. So then I started having this kind of conflict because my kind of line manager was trying to sort of build my confidence up by telling me that I was a fantastic employee, that it's not necessarily last in, first out, and that it needs to be based on merit. But because my self-esteem was so low, I didn't believe that I was worthy to be one of those people that got to stay. And over the years, I've had to sort of like look into that kind of self-esteem, and it's only probably been in the past kind of 2 years where my self-esteem has started to build up, and the more tools and techniques and the more courses and materials that I'm sort of like consuming is actually building up my self-esteem. So now, as I said in the kind of very initial kind of trailer vlog, and even in like the first kind of few, I genuinely love myself, and I know that I deserve and I'm worthy to be here, to have this human experience and to impact people and be impacted by people. So my kind of self-esteem is definitely drastically different to where it was between the ages of 35 and probably 39, because that's the kind of period where it did take a big kind of sort of like nosedive. So what I'm going to do in kind of tomorrow's vlog is I'll explain the kind of journey that I went on in that period to sort of get myself to the point where I introduced more kind of coping strategies, because there was habits and behaviours that I was starting to do that I've mentioned previously, binge drinking and binge eating, which then started having an impact on my physical health and my weight, and then I needed to introduce new strategies and ways to be able to cope, so I could actually externally appear that everything was going great and that I was actually still able to deliver on work, in the kind of family commitments, in my kind of personal relationships as well. So I'm going to leave you with a wee kind of this is next installment tomorrow, so tune in to find out what's going on. So let's wrap it up here. Thank you for watching. If you liked and want to hear what happens tomorrow, subscribe and tune in tomorrow to hear more. And go out and seize the day. Have an awesome day. And remember, in life, there's always choices, so choose wisely. Until tomorrow, goodbye.